once again on the phone line by our friend from Turner. He's terrific doing what he's doing. Let's talk some hoops with none other than Jim Jackson back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Jim?
I'm great, Rich. I'm great. Your brother sounds I got to talk to your brother, man. He got some little nuggets there.
Oh, yes.
Some words of wisdom. I like that.
Absolutely. And if you need any estate...
I heard that from Pat, too.
I'm sure. Did you really?
Personally.
What did you hear from...
just playing with Pat. Pat would always drop those kind of nuggets, those kind of life lessons more than just basketball. Fiery. I mean, it was unbelievable. I was blessed. I say this all the time about young players, that they had an opportunity to play for Pat Riley or Spoelstra early in their career, just to lay the foundation of what the game is, how to be a pro, and how to look at the approach of being a pro basketball player, how that lays it out for whatever you do post playing for Miami. Because you look at things differently at other teams, like, no, you know, that's really not the way you should approach it. This is really not the way you should do it. And then maybe you'll say, well, no, you know what? It's very similar to what Pat would do, or the organization, or where they, conduct business. But it was Pat was the kind, Rich, that in practice would just beat you up, right? But then later on would buy you dinner. But then the next day may not talk to you. So
what?
He always kept you off balance, man.
Okay. I'll pull on that string. What do you mean by that? I think you just gave me examples, but give me the exact scenario you're talking about.
Well, like one time we were at practice, headed to Toronto to play, and I mean he was just on us, right? I mean, now back then we had like 2 to 3 hour practices, and I think maybe the game before we didn't play well, and he was just, I mean, we were basically doing fundamental stuff, taking charges. Passing drills, box out drills, just everything. And so we fly to Toronto, and we happened to go out to dinner, a few of us, to an Italian restaurant called Soto, and Pat was there. Well, Pat ended up buying dinner for us. Now, mind you, after he just beat us down in practice, okay? So we thought, man, that's cool, But the next day, we go to shoot around, and we get on the bus. He's sitting there, legs crossed, kind of looking at his fingernails, didn't say a word to us. It was in practice. It kind of it's almost like to keep us even-keeled, off balance. You got a relationship, but yet this is professional. It was one of those mind things with Pat that always had to keep you motivated to understand what your job was. But also, when you did your job like a professional, you would be treated the right way, first class all the way.
So, Jim Jackson here on the Rich Eisen Show talking about Pat Riley back in the day. I mean, has that been downloaded into Spoelstra? Obviously, he's his own man, because this is the conversation, we had to start the program, Jim, and I think will only grow with each passing win by the Heat if they do continue as such in this series, and then maybe even beyond, is the secret sauce of the Heat. 3 straight conference championship appearances with Jimmy Butler in the fold, and then the rest of the team as built, with Spoelstra coaching it. What is the secret sauce there?
Well, it's a lot more nuanced, because Eric was, at the time, our actual film guy. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I think by starting at that level, I think I truly believe what makes Eric such a great coach, outstanding coach, is he got to see different layers of the game, coaching, organization, and more importantly, players. And what I mean by that, by being in the film room, he got to break down the film and really look at and study the game. Not that he didn't know it, but he formed some nuances in the game. He got to learn from Pat. He got to be in practice. He got to be at training camp. He got to be in the rooms as he elevated in game planning and drafting and personnel. But more importantly, he had the ear of the players. So he was able, Rich, to listen to players, what they desired, what they wanted, what they liked, what they disliked, all of those things, how to communicate with players, all of that stuff. Think about learning that and then being elevated into a situation where now you're a coach. So you downloaded all of this information. Now, how you put it together in regards to a game plan and That is something different. But I think being able to be groomed from the bottom all the way through has allowed Eric Spoelstra to have a keen insight into personalities and how to handle high, I would say, caliber individuals like LeBron James and D. Wade and stuff like that, to a Gabe Vincent, to a Duncan Robinson, because Eric was in that situation even though he was drafted, but he was in the second round. You know what I mean? So he can relate to sides of the spectrum and players and communicate with those young men as well. And I think that's what makes him such an outstanding coach. I don't think people give him the credit as much as they give a Pop, because Pop is Pop.
Right.
But what Eric has been able to do in Miami has just been, I mean, outside of Pop, who's the longest senior coach out there? It's Spo.
Jim Jackson here on the Rich Eisen Show. So then let's talk about the here and now. What happened last night and how sustainable is it for the Heat against the defending Eastern Conference champs in Boston? Jim.
Well, I mean, game plan was outstanding. I mean, listen, Boston is a team that shoots about 43 pointers a game. I think they only put up 29. So that's three-point defense, taking something away from what Boston does really well. Boston shot 51% last night overall, but they only were 34% from the three-point line. Across the board, Miami was 54%, 51% from the three-point line. They had 15 turnovers, but they're complementary players. 15 for Strus, 15 for Vincent, 15 for Martin, 15 for Laurie. Those are the guys on the road that get you over the top. One of the things I think Spoelstra did also, too, recognizing this, which was masterful, and that happened, unfortunately, because Kyle Lowry got hurt and was regulated when he was out for a while, and Gabe Vincent started. Now, Gabe started some games last year as well, so there's nothing new. But you think about this, Rich. In the starting lineup, Gabe Vincent can just be Gabe, meaning he doesn't have to worry about running the show and being the playmaker, because you have, like Bam said, one of the best passers there are out there, awesome passer, but also Jimmy Butler. So Gabe can be Gabe. What's happened is that you put Kyle Lowry on the second unit. Now that stabilizes the second unit, because Kyle can run and orchestrate the offense, and it's not a big drop-off in regards to execution. So by making that move and staying with that, and Cal allowing that to happen, that gives this Miami team the balance you're looking for to go to a Boston in game one, to walk out of there at least in game one with a W.
Jim Jackson, 14-year NBA veteran here on the Rich Eisen Show. Tonight, Lakers-Nuggets game 2. What happened in the second half, if not the fourth quarter of game 1, that had the Lakers really put the scare in Denver and an opportunity to tie the game late? What did you see there that Darvin Ham and the Lakers have, no doubt, behind closed doors, hung their hat on to win game 2 tonight? What did you see, Jim?
Just both coaches are really good at making adjustments, Michael Malone and also Darvin Ham. Darvin felt, I think he saw something with his coaching staff. You remember when, when Boston played Philly and you put a Marcus Smart on Joel Embiid? You're like, well, why would you do that? Especially it works when you're in space and you're at the free throw line or outside the box. Well, you do that because now the big, this time Rui Hachimura guarding Jokic, that allows Anthony Davis to kind of roam and protect the rim. Plus, when the double team comes, it's a bigger double team. This Anthony Davis on Jokic, and now you're coming with a guard, Jokic can just see over the top of that. But by reversing those roles, now you allow Anthony to patrol the middle for cutters. So you kind of take that away a little bit. And even if they cut, he's there to rim protect. And then you allow him to come, if he needs to double, a bigger presence. So I think it took Denver out of their rhythm, because, Lakers scored 34 points in that fourth quarter. And they were effective in that. The key is going to be what Michael Malone does with Aaron Gordon when they choose to do that. Because no matter where Aaron is at on the court, you can always kind of regulate yourself to helping. That's going to be that little nuance there, what Michael Malone does with Aaron Gordon when they invert that defense like that. is going to be a chess match. And, Lakers shot the ball well from the three-point line in the fourth quarter. I think they showed a little something of what they could do. Austin Reeves played well. But the strategical part of this game, Rich, is going to be interesting from the beginning. I don't think Darvin Ham go with the same lineup, the smaller lineup with D'Angelo and Dennis Schroeder because they gave up too many offensive rebounds. But I think they found something. But Denver, in these close games, as you know, Rich, they still figured out a way to close it out and not allow LA to steal that game one.
Well, while we're talking about the chess match, it just seems an interesting chess piece to me is Rui Hachimura. He's a fascinating chess piece, certainly in this series, more so than what we saw maybe against the Warriors. It seems like it might be his time here, his turn up to play a significant role to get the Lakers to the finals. What did you see from him in game one that you think Darvin Ham and certainly obviously Malone knows? But what about him as a chess piece here in this scenario?
I love it. I love it because of his size and athleticism. Now, listen, with Jokic, you're not – with players like that, Rich, you're not going to stop, okay? Because they're involved in too many offensive sets. They're going to have the ball in their hands so much. Now, can you make them less efficient? That's – Jokic only had 2 shots in the fourth quarter. Now, it wasn't just Rui who did that. It was a really great – team defensive scheme that didn't allow Jokic to get those shots. But what Rui gives you, size enough to compete with Jokic. Now, Jokic is not posting up. If Jokic was straight posting up, advantage Jokic. But out on the perimeter, Rui is quick enough to stay in front. He's strong enough to kind of keep Jokic from getting to a spot. And now he's a threat offensively where he gets out and run and uses that athleticism. That key piece to me with the Lakers when they, made that move first to get Rui, again, you knew he had potential, but he had injury issues in Washington. But that was the chess piece, I think, that elevated the Lakers team. They gave him depth at the wing position. He can score, he can run, he can rebound. A really intelligent player. And he fits what AD needs, LeBron needs, and more importantly, the versatility defensively with what Darvin Ham needs. Now, if he starts him tonight and he starts on him, it's going to be interesting to see how Darvin utilizes that because if you give too much of the same dosage to Jokic, he'll figure it out because he hasn't seen everything. And he'll figure out a way to dissect it. So you got to give it to him in doses where he keeps him off balance, where he's never comfortable with what he's doing offensively.
So what do you think happens tonight? I don't even have a crystal ball, but I'll just throw that in your lap, Jim.
I got one that just don't work that well. I got one over here somewhere, but it just I put it up for better use. I thought that the Lakers could be able to steal one of the games. I thought it was game one in Denver. Denver has done a great job. I mean, if you look at Minnesota and Phoenix in game one, they won those games both by double digits, close to 20 points. So I'm not surprised that they won it. Now, the Lakers also can say in their first 2 series, they went on the road in Memphis, I think it was in Golden State, and won by a large margin on the road. So they're very capable, of course, of getting game 2. And I do believe, I think the Lakers found something. They're going to tweak some things, and I think they sneak out of there with a W to tie it up 1-1.
Jim Jackson here on the Rich Eisen Show, NBA on TNT game analyst, and of course, 14-year NBA veteran. A few more minutes left with him. Jump in on the Victor Wembanyama conversation based on, I believe it was Woj who said on ESPN, and I think he's giving voice to a lot of people what are saying, that Wembanyama is the greatest prospect maybe in the history of team sports is what he said. And I believe Damian Lillard was giving voice to people who think that's out of pocket because of LeBron. Now, you were in the league when LeBron arrived and everything that went down. Mm-hmm. What's your 2 cents on this conversation here?
Well, it's an opinion piece. And you were around, too. You got to see it. I think, how can you say Kareem wasn't? Now, we weren't there.
Yes.
But based on Kareem's high school and college career, think about it. They took the dunk away in college for Kareem. He's a 3-time National Player of the Year, MVP, 3-time champion. Lost 1 or 2 games in high school. Come on, coming into the league, this was like the next thing coming after Wilt. So it's hard really to say. Now, in relation to LeBron, I think when you look at LeBron coming in to the league, it was some questions about maybe could he shoot good enough at that point. You know, he's playing against high school players. Would that translate over to the NBA? It wasn't about LeBron and his physical talent, and it was about those little nuances. With Victor, because he's been playing overseas against grown men, and he's shown the ability to endure the physicality, but he can shoot it from all three levels. The questions are not as intense about him transferring those skill sets to the league. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at when they judge him, which is not wrong in that aspect. You know what I'm saying, Rich? Because if you were to take a 7'4" Victor Wembanyama and an 18-year-old LeBron James with some of those questions in today's game or back then, who would you take? Size wins. Despite how great LeBron is. So I think those comparisons, and they're looking at that and they're saying what Victor can do, I think they're basing it on a lot of that because he doesn't really have, outside of being strong and maybe just adjusting to the NBA life, not a lot of flaws in his game early in his career.
Wow, you're right. I was around. I was doing Sports Centers. I think Stuart Scott and I did multiple Sports Centers after LeBron James high school games were broadcast live on ESPN. I was there. I was part of, if you will, the hype. And this is exactly similar to it. I mean, we're seeing some live games from France, right? So I'll just throw this to you to wrap the conversation. Okay. Is what was it like in the league when LeBron came in? Were you ready to show the kid something, or a bunch of veterans ready to show the kid that you're not in Akron anymore? Or is that what Wembanyama is going to face here? What do you think?
Well, it's always the case. Come on, man. I mean, because guys got egos, bro. I don't care if you're an established player or not, because Victor, LeBron, when he came in, had so much hype, you wanted to see what it was all about. And I appreciate it because being from Ohio, I got a chance to witness and watch him grow as a player in Ohio and the appreciation for who he was and his background. But, of course, you want to, as a veteran, a lot of times you want to show a younger player, and that's sometimes even a player that comes to your team, let alone somebody that has the hype that these two young men have or had for LeBron, that this is the league. But a young man like LeBron is special from he can compartmentalize what he needs to do and how to perform and not try to live up to that hype, but just be who he is. And I think that's what really allowed LeBron James that transition to come in and really be effective. Because think about it. He didn't come out and try to be Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. He just wanted to be LeBron. And that's how he's always played. So that allowed him, and more importantly, Rich, his teammates to accept him. See, that's the key. Because of all that hype, even your teammates are like, they want to go at you in practice to see what you got. But if you're a consummate teammate, that makes the transition so much more fluid and easier for you to play the game because now you have your guys behind you that really support you because of the person you are and not the hype and the basketball player. And I think that's going to be very important. That's why culturally I think it's important where Victor ended up landing with a culture that will allow him to grow as a basketball player, mature as a young man, get taught how to play the game the right way. And San Antonio is one of the handful of organizations that's been stable for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Pop is perfect for it. I mean, like, what a perfect thing. Yeah. Plus he also knows how to speak French to a star player, I mean, like, that's...
Well, he know how to curse him out in French, too. You know what I mean? He's very used to So, hey, Victor better get used to that. I tell you that right now.
I love it.
Because it's coming.
I love it.
I mean, Pop, you know how it is when you get older. And Pop is at the stage, too, where he just gives no F's. You know what I mean? He's older now. It's like, okay, what you going to do? If you don't like it, so what? How it's going to get done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting dynamic with them two this year.
Oh, yeah. Normally you'd think 51 years of age difference is going to be a problem, but I don't think so. Half a century of an age difference. I don't think so at all.
Man.
That's funny.
I can't wait. It's great for the NBA from an international perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the young man, just based on his background, couldn't have more of a perfect fit to come in with an organization like that to learn how to be a pro. And I think that's what's most important. The skill set is going to be there. The game is there. But understanding what it means to be a pro at a young age with all of the expectations, to me, is one of the most important aspects of the growth of this young man.
Jim, thanks for the call. Greatly appreciate it. Love our chats. You're just great to watch. You and I are a great team, and always appreciate you coming on the show. And as thanks, just to bring it all full circle, my brother, if you need an estate plan, he's a terrific lawyer for that. I can hook you guys up. He's great. He's truly the best in America, quite frankly. So
I appreciate it, man. Thank you, my brother.
Take care of yourself, Jim. You be well
tonight too.
All right, you enjoy it. That's Jim Jackson, everybody. Game 2 tonight on the worldwide leader in sports from Denver. And then Turner has Game 2 between the Celtics and the Heat coming up on Friday. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.